Hey friends, welcome to Chinbeard Live. I'm your host / instructor Tim, and this is my first live stream. So fingers crossed. I hope it goes well. So let's jump into a little bit of housekeeping, shall we? So I'm not going to sit here and read this to you. We're all adults here, but I do want to make a couple of things pretty well known. Let's start off with my live streams going forward are going to lean towards education and interactivity, not necessarily entertainment. So let's all be adults on the topic. Approach these episodes with interest and an open mind. And uncomfortable topics may be discussed in the name of artistic discovery. I draw a lot of anatomy, so fair warning. In short, just please be a good human. Cool? Cool. Okay, so let's jump into today's topic. But before we get started, if she's in here, I wanted to wish a happy adoption day to my land cloud, Nova. Nova! Nova! Come here! Come here! Well, there's this one. Let's see here. That's not it. Let's see here. 4. There we go. Nova, come here. It's okay. Oh, there she is. Hi, baby. Look, here we go. Look. Here we go. This is my land cloud. This is Happy Adoption Day for my beautiful Nova. There she is. Isn't she gorgeous? Mwah! It's a good girl. Happy Adoption Day, baby. We've had her for 2 years now. Wonderful, wonderful puppy dog. All right. Okay. Now we got that out of the way. Let's talk about today's topic. So today I'm discussing 2 topics I love. First, beer and female character design. And why females, you may ask? Well, simply they're just more fun to draw. To quote American director Wesley Ruggles, a figure with curves always offers a lot of interesting angles. That was actually used in a marketing campaign that I worked on several years back, but it holds true today. Where drawing masculine characters tends to be, angular and rough, females offer a bit more interest, at least in my eyes. You might feel differently, but you know what? No hate to any artist who wishes to embrace the masculine form. I should know I'm I'm peak example of this, Okay, so let's talk shop here a little bit. All right, I wanted to bring up a couple of things. Whether you're an artist or simply interested in peeking behind the curtain, my goal for this live stream is to show my processes in creating artwork in a manner to inspire you to create more art. In an age where AI images, like the ones that I'm showing here, are just flooding every neighborhood of media, including social, TV, etc., I still believe that putting pen to paper, so to speak, is incredibly rewarding. That being said, it's becoming more and more difficult to not see these images on a daily basis. As a matter of fact, my Pinterest is flooded with this stuff. And that might be because I look at some of it, but still, I'm also a photographer, so I see this stuff all the time. And it's difficult, you could even succumb to the idea of creating these images for yourself just to stay with the trend. You can pump out these images super quick instead of actually going through and learning how to actually create artwork. So it's very tempting, I get it. So here are my personal thoughts on AI images. You may or may not agree, but this is how I'm handling it. So let's start with, I believe AI images are here to stay. I don't think they're going anywhere. They're too accessible and they offer outlets to people who aren't artistically minded or wish to dabble in imagery and never felt like they had a voice. However, I don't consider AI images like this art. This is a topic of debate in many communities. It really doesn't bother me on what side you fall on. I personally believe that art is created from living being expressing inner thoughts and feelings in an outward way. So drawing, painting, dancing, singing, there's so much more it's expression personified, right? So in the end, AI images are outputs from a computer program. Just simple, straight to it. While you could argue that it took a human to input the prompts on software side to generate the image, you could also create scripts to do the same thing. I would argue that the person inputting those prompts may not have a vision of how the end result should be realized. That goes into anticipation, which leads to intelligence and artistic integrity, that kind of thing. So they merely wish to see interpretations of their general description and choose between the options. These people did not draw the lines connecting the dots of the artwork. So in reality, I use this metaphor. Creating AI images is like the popular kid having the nerd do their homework. They might be saying what they want, but it was another voice doing the work. Okay, so I'm gonna hop off my soapbox here for just a minute. I'm not saying AI images are bad. They can offer great inspiration. They can jog the creative process. I also believe they can help artists in areas where they struggle. We all struggle. All artists struggle. It happens. And I am terrible, personally, at environmental art. As much as I love landscapes, as much as I just love to be able to draw mountains and buildings and stuff, I suck at it. I am not good. So for my comic work, where that stuff is necessary, I do use AI images to help me get better. I don't want AI to do the work for me. I just want the inspiration to help to get me over the hurdle, right? Maybe eventually I will learn how to do it myself. That's the overall idea, right? So that kind of leads me into tonight's project. The first topic, beer. I mentioned beer as one of my favorite topics. Well, I'm home brewing, and I just finished a new concoction. So I brewed an Arctic Stout. If you know anything about beer, it's basically just a golden ale with adjuncts of stouts. So it has like a coffee flavor, it has some chocolate flavor. And so now I need to design a beer label. I'm so excited because I get to combine beer with art. And I love it. So here's the beer. Here it is. Just looks delicious, doesn't it? So this is it. This is my Arctic Stout. I'm gonna look to create a label to go on here to differentiate it in my collection and in my refrigerator, and when I have my friends try it out. So to kind of give you an idea about where we're going, I want to show you a few that I've already done. So to give you, here it is. So this is a character that I did. So I created this character years ago. I was probably about 16 years old, but she went through a redesign recently for this particular label. And I like doing this. I like giving my brews a persona. And this one right here, this one's the Winter Flare Very Berry Cider. Very cool. This one here is my Celestial Hopped Strawberry Cider. Very cool. Another character I created long time ago, back when I was 16. I'm not gonna date myself just yet. Here's another one. This was a stout that I made. It's called the Necromancer. Pretty cool, right? Cool label. I love doing artwork for this kind of stuff. And so I'm looking to do another one for this one. Oh, and I also did one as an experimental. I did this comic piece as a beer label. I thought it was super cool. I really enjoyed it, and I would definitely do it again. So let's see here. What's going on with my... There it is. My audio dropped out for a second. Okay, so being a character artist, I love giving my brews a persona, and that's what we're going to jump into tonight. So we're going to go over my process, And so let's jump over and then we'll talk it through. Okay. I got my snazzy drawing glove on. What up? All right, so for the Arctic Stout, I've already done a little bit of the legwork, and I want it to be a character I created years ago, and her name is Natalie. Now, this isn't the best image, but this was done back in 2003. I am dating myself, but she went through a relative redesign back in 2003. I haven't touched this character since then. And so now I'm gonna go through another redesign. I'm gonna bring her up to date and get her more attuned to what I'm looking for. In the Arctic Stout, I think of Arctic, I think of foxes, and I've always wanted to draw a fox character, a fox girl character. And I think this girl, who's actually the shortest of all of my characters, which I have a bunch, I thought that'd be perfect for her to be a fox girl. So I'm going through here. I want to keep the integrity here of this character, at least a little bit, but she needs to be updated. She needs to be, changed a little bit. I'm not going through a full character design tonight, but I am going to go over a little bit of my process on how I would actually get started to create the artwork for the label. So I pulled some inspiration, and let's see here. Let's start with, we'll take Natalie off of here for a little bit. Let's start with a character pose that I really liked. Again, we're looking at some AI images here to give us some inspiration. I could just as easily set up a photo shoot and do my own photos. But right now, this is more accessible. I'm gonna go ahead and use this, and I found some that just kind of fit the feel, right? So I'm thinking as an Arctic Stout, I have my fox girl. She's looking off into the distance. Maybe we'll do some editing here, and then I really like the idea of her hair flowing in the wind. I really dig that. I think that's really cool. And so, and I'm a big fan of Frozen, so Anna here, I think, would be a great basis for this character. But let's keep going. So another character pose that I liked, of course, was Belle. And using this image of Belle, she's looking off into the distance, like what I'm kind of imagining, right? It shows a little bit more of her face, which might be more interesting for a character design aspect of it. Be a little bit more work on our end, but that's okay. The end result would probably be great. So I'm thinking about it. I'm not quite there yet. As I was thinking about my fox girl character, I came across this image here to give me a bit of a basis. Now, I'm looking at an Arctic fox, so, whites and blues, things like that, not necessarily red. Red's gonna come at a different time, but I like the ears. I like how, it's a good reference on how poofy they are on the inside. The tail is kind of poofy, so it gives us kind of a good idea, a good start. I'm not looking to copy this. I'm looking to have it as an inspiration. So another idea, of course, was this here. This one was cute. It's a little bit more along the lines of my art style, but she still has cute ears. I really like the hair. There's some things about this image that I do like. I may or may not use it. I just have it here as an alternate image. So we're gonna jump over here to the hairstyle. Now, I mentioned that I wanna keep some things integral to the original design of the character. So I'm gonna bring up Natalie again. So you can kind of see that originally I had her as like a little cut bob, hairstyle. I don't think I'm gonna go with the green again. I wanted to be different at the time, and I don't really care for it. I don't like it, but I do like this hairstyle here, where it's almost like a blade, like it's sharp. This sharp bob cut. I think it's really cool. I even like the color. I think the color's pretty neat. I think it would fit an Arctic fox. Probably do more blues rather than purples and pinks. But you get the idea, right? And so as another hairstyle, I was looking at this one. I thought this was really pretty, and I thought this would kind of fit that original character pose of Anna. Flowing, the hair could flow in the wind. I like how it's really breezy. We could probably cut that hair just a little bit, make it a little bit shorter, still retain that overall idea of that shoulder length hair. Kind of dig it. A few more references is when I start coloring. What about the eyes? You know, I'm thinking Arctic fox. Okay, I probably want to bring in at least a little bit of pink. You know, some blue. We can't have it all blue. We can't have it all white. So bring in some pinks in there would be really cool. Nice bold cat eyes, fox cat eyes, right? I think that looks really good. And then as an outfit's concerned, I wanted to stay kind of close to this idea of this original character. There's not a whole lot going on with this original character, and I still think this reference, there's not really a whole lot going on, but it gives me the idea of this corset slash skirt look, and I think it would fit. I probably wouldn't use the neck ribbon, but I think overall, I think that would be a good place to start. It's got cool lace up in the front. I think it would work all right. And then last but not least, we're going to talk about this other outfit idea. Let's move Natalie out of the way. This here is that it's almost kind of like a fox, sort of, but she has, she has a mantle on. She has, some pauldrons on. She has the skirt, not necessarily a corset, but you get the overall look and idea. And this one adds a little bit more armor and clothing on her arms, which would be kind of cool. So that's another inspiration, right? And so let's go from here. So we're gonna start with the basics on how I lay some stuff out. So I'm gonna start with my sketch layer. I'm gonna grab my original character pose. We're gonna start with this. Okay, I want to give a little bit of room here. We're gonna bring down that opacity. And I'm gonna lock that down, and then we're gonna start. So just like with any of my art pieces, I always start with the main blocks. We start with main blocks and then define it down. So what's my line of action here? Well, let's define the top of her head and where it's gonna go. So her body's right down here somewhere. So let's define the line of action. It's really pretty simple, right? She's not really doing a whole lot. We can always add a little bit more to it if we wanted to. So I like to identify the main parts here. So like the top of her head, bottom of her chin, right? I want to identify where her shoulders are and where her waist is. And then we're not going to go too much further in there. We're going to start with our big blocks. So feel free, just, draw it up. So her head's right in here somewhere. So let's draw that up. Okay, there's the side of her face here. And then we're just doing general marks. We're not looking to create anything super detailed at this point. Now, I have a different way of drawing these noses, but I'm still going to create the shape. Now, I have a little bit different way of doing things, and that's okay. So we're going to create a mark here. I like to mark where these parts are. Like that. And then her ears, we're going to give like a nice little shape there. Block here. Now that shoulder's a little scrawny, so I'm going to bold it out a little bit. Now, one of the things also that I was thinking of is I want her interacting inside the scene. So when I'm creating this bottle, I'm thinking of her out in some kind of snowy area. She's looking off into the sunset, so more than likely her eyes are going to be open, right? Her eyes are going to be open, and then she needs to interact with something. So this is a beer label, so chances are she's going to interact with a beer glass. So I'm going to identify where her elbow is, and then I'm going to identify where I want her holding this beverage. So I create my little skeleton. And I'm going to adjust this. So again, blocking. Just create blocks. Okay, doesn't have to be anything special. Once you get your blocks, you know, you want to make your big old shapes. Make your big old ovals. We'll define it later. She's going to hold that. So chances are her thumb is going to be in here somewhere. I'm just marking it for identification purposes. Give her beer glass, or her beverage glass. I'm going to record that. Okay, we'll have her beverage glass here. We keep working on the shapes. So this is going back here to her back shoulder. You can kind of see where her back kind of comes down here. We're going to create this a little bit. We're going to create her tummy in here, block that off, and then we're going to block that off. Okay, this one's going to be really simple. So this is the overall pose. Chances are I'm going to have her other hand kind of coming up over the side and then coming around like that. So the hands will interact together. And then of course, add the more fun curvature, and then we'll get to that in a minute. So let's take off our character pose. This is what we have. It's pretty ugly, right? They all start like this. They all start like this. And so what we do is we get the overall design. I say design, it's not really design. We get the overall blocking, and then we start manipulating from here. So I like having this as a basis. I'm going to add a new layer. This is where I start adding some detail. I like to use blue. And then once we get this kind of hammered out a little bit, then we're going to work on the hair and that kind of thing. So we're gonna start working here. See, I'm using these guides, but I'm not going 100% by them. I kind of like, you know, Natalie, when I see her, she's kind of got like this little cute little button nose, which is how I originally designed her. So do something like that. You know, right here, this mark was her eyebrow. You know, because she's a fox, right? And so we might make that a little bit wild. We're going to continue sketching out here her head. Oh no, I drew on the wrong one. Sure did. Try this again. That happens too. That's all right. It's just a sketch. And it's okay. If you're not comfortable drawing characters or even sketching in general, it's okay to make these lines that kind of generally form by strokes. It's okay to do that. It's how I learned. That's how we all learn. Okay, I'll probably make changes to this ear, but it gives me an idea on where it's at. So then let's take a look here at much. Okay. Now for the eye, we had the idea about where the eyes were. So in our example here, her eyes are closed. And I actually made her eyebrows a little high, but that's all right. Let's start with her eyes closed, and then let's go from there. Okay, so that's kind of cute. But I do definitely like the idea of her eyes open. Now, I would do, we're going to do eyes open. We're going to do something kind of like this. I really want to do these cat eyes, right? Skinnier. Could even try out a little bit different of a method. So we have these, we have this. There's so many different ways we can do this. And it's okay to just make adjustments as you go. It's quite all right. I like to identify where my shadow lines are. Okay. And it takes some adjusting, but we're in that ballpark. I would probably come out a little bit more here and down like that. It gives us the general idea of where we're going with this. I could sit here and probably tweak this all afternoon, all evening, but I'm not going to. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so it's already starting to look a little bit better, right? And now we're entering in her shoulder. So I mean, we haven't even gotten into wardrobe or anything yet. So we've got our shoulder here. We know how shoulders work. Okay, it just follows the curvature here. Just like with this, it follows the curvature. Just follows the curvature. And then these all bleed into each other. Make her too muscular. She's little, but it's okay for her to have a little bit of gas in the tank there. Now the way this works is that we're going to find that line where the elbow kind of meets in here with the forearms. Now I'm just guessing about where this needs to be. I do like to show where my motion lines are and how the figure looks. So I tend to show it like this. And it gives me an idea on when I'm doing my shading and when I'm doing my coloring, how to add my shadows and highlights. A little bit something like that. Let's bring that down. And then I would start using references like my hand on how things are gripped. I tend to, set it up and do this number. If I'm gonna have her hands on it, maybe she's cupping it, kind of like this, then I would try to mimic that and just create my blocks. So we have that, and then we have that, and that, and then they block in, kind of wrapping around. Like that. Something like that. And then we'll define that as we go in and do a little bit more detailing work. But she's holding this nice big glass. It's probably a little bit bigger in her eyes in comparison to her because she is such a small character. She's about, if I were to give her a height, she's probably like 4'10", maybe. She's tiny. So we're working on a beverage label. So something kind of like that. She's got herself a big old pint. Now her neck, in my opinion, is a little big, so I'm going to trim her head here a little bit. A little bit better. And then we saw that came over here to her other shoulder, right? Over off in the perspective. And that just kind of molds into her back like this. We know that the middle of her back kind of goes in here. And we also know that her shoulder blade is going to be somewhere in this vicinity. And then as we start working out the rest of her, she's probably kind of squeezing in a little bit, so it might actually create a little bit of a squeeze in here somewhere. And we'll worry about that later. And then come in here with her tummy, and then create this and go out to the hip. Then we work on the other hand. That'll come in here like this, and then it'll just mirror what's going on this other side. So here we have our basis. We have the structures here to get us started. Let's look back over here at one of these hairstyles that I liked. Okay, so there's this one, which I thought was pretty cool. The great thing about doing art on digital is that you can always add layers, and that way you can keep your stuff separate. You can do some artwork, and then if you don't like it, just turn it off and try something else. So let's do hair 1. I'm going to readjust this. Okay, I'm going to do a few liberties on this. I'm going to change a different color. Let's say it's going to look almost like an aqua. Okay, so in this one, it's really, really simple. So the hairstyle here is real simple. It's just straight down, and then it kind of comes up right above the shoulders. So it's not going to loop or anything. It's just literally straight down. Might be a little bit boring, but maybe we can do something cool with it, right? So let's start with this. I don't like that it's so flat on the top of her head. I like to give it a little bit of volume. I think I'm going to do that on the opposite side. So let's do our general look here. We're going to start her hairline. Whoops. We're going to start her hairline somewhere around in here. And let's bring this in. Okay. We're going to exaggerate because we have the ability to do that. And then we're going to bring this up. It would stop roughly here and then come around to the back. To give it a little bit of volume. And give it a little bit of tease back here. Alright, so there we go. So we do something kind of like this. Let's turn off our blue and our pink here so you can kind of see what we're doing. We give it just a little bit of tease, so it's going to kind of loop under here like this. And there's her shoulder there. Probably do some kind of color with it here. On the other side, I really liked how I really do like how Anna is really windswept. It's pretty cool, right? And so maybe we can play around a little bit with that. So let's turn that off. And then let's say let's part that side. And then this side we go. Probably be something along these lines, like here, maybe just a little bit longer. Something kind of along this shape, maybe. It looks like the hair is really tight, so chances are that there's not going to be a whole lot of flyaways. Maybe we can add a little bit of oomph here. What do you think about that? Here, let's erase that. I really kind of like this. So that's starting to look pretty. So let's take a look at original Natalie here. So I think we're kind of going in that right direction. This, to go with this windswept look, we might want to go ahead and do a little bit of windswept over here. See, and I can now erase lines I don't want without affecting my underlying drawing. Cool stuff. Okay, so maybe something like that. That'd be cool. Kind of, it has that spirit, that, you know, that feeling that she's outside and in the wind, right? She's looking off. I like that. I would probably pull, I don't know, I think I'm going to pull that eye back a little bit. And again, with digital, you have the ability to mess around with some of this stuff, which I really, really like. There we go. That works. I don't need this anymore, so let's get rid of that. Let's add just a couple. We'll go back when we ink this. We can do a little bit better on the lashes. But I want to give her this idea that she's definitely something more than human. Now, one thing that we are missing are the fox ears. So we have this reference here. So I'm really interested in just the ears at this point. And so she's probably not going to have regular ears. But these ears are also behind the hair anyway, so it really doesn't matter. But let's take a look here. So as a general idea, let's take a look at the ears. Let's do, just for foxy's sake, let's do this. Okay, so these are in shapes where the ears are going out and up, but they're coming forward. So it's from the back, right? And then they go up. There. Now the ears go with the side of the head. So we're going to be able to sketch this, and then we can reposition if we need to. Probably just see it. So let's position this real quick. So let's organize. So she's headed back just a little bit. So this would probably be in line with her jawline. Something kind of like that, maybe. And then maybe we can have it as a little bit more of an interest where the other side is over here, kind of pointing that way. So something like that. It's really rough, but gives us the idea on where this should be. Okay, so I'm going to keep this stream at somewhere around an hour. So we have about 15 minutes left of the stream. And I think we can fit in just a little bit more, and then we'll jump into some Q&A if we have any. Okay, here's this outfit idea we talked about. I think it's cute, you know, it's real basic. It's just like this little corset with a skirt. And it shouldn't be too difficult for our character here. But we are going to add a little bit more to it. Yeah. All right, so basic look is it's got a shoulder strap and pencil. It's got the shoulder strap, and then it's got got lace on it. I don't know if I'm gonna add lace though. So this will probably kind of run out like this. It looks like it laces up in the front, so it would make sense that it would lace up in the back. So we're going to go here. We're going to follow the small of the back. We're going to create two sections. We'll define that a little bit later. But it looks like it's going to point down, and then it's going to wrap around. Crosses that I'm kind of seeing here in the front, like those right there. So I just need to just choose which side is on top. That, and then like that. And then we'll worry about perspective when I actually start detailing it out. Getting just an overall idea at this point. Okay, little basic corset look. And then this is probably going to have some type of lace front as well. But we'll look into that later. I'm thinking it's going to be a boned corset, so we're going to put in here, and gives us an opportunity to show off how this thing is going to curve around her. Okay, so there's that, and then that loops. In this case, actually, let's see here. This might actually go. This is a little tricky on the perspective. makes more sense for this to come downward. Down and then up. Down and then up. Right there, right there. X, X. Okay, there's the bones. Okay, so something kind of like that. If we wanted to throw in some fantasy style armor, she's got pauldrons and this kind of mantle going on. I'm going to use a slightly different color. Let's see, maybe pinkish, to differentiate between the outfits, right? So let's go here. So she's got this nice high neck look to her. Here. Now you probably won't see this because her hair's going to be in the way, but you should still draw it anyway. And this is going to wrap around, so there's a very good chance that this black piece would actually be back behind her corset. So it loops here at the front, comes back around. Show off her fingernails, so I think this is going to end up being like a specialized glove, something like that. And then that's going to wrap around here. And then it would show up on the other side. So we've got our pauldron over here. And then fit back like that. And all of this is going to be black. Okay, that's a pretty good start. And it took us about, I don't know, about 40 minutes. About 40 minutes to get this far. And we already had our references already made. Already done, already chosen. But we've got a pretty good start. It looks a little like a jarbled mess. But if you keep working on it, you know, eventually it's going to turn into something pretty cool. So as like a little sneak preview, it's the same process I did for this one. This is another beer label that I'm working on. Obviously she's not done yet, but it's the exact same process. Exact same. And so you can kind of see here that once we get into line detailing and inking her in, details start to pop out and you get to start working with ink weights and stuff like that, and it creates a lot of diversity and you get really, really sharp. And this is the kind of thing that, you know, this is my vision, you know, this was the vision I did, and I didn't have something make it for me. So I used what images I had available to get me started and then just went from there. So, all right, let's jump over real quick to any kind of Q&A if we happen to have any. And at this time, we do not. So, shameless plug. Check out the shirt. What? Chinbeard? Check it out. Check it out. Look at it. Do the art. Pet the dogs. Remember the things. So if you're into artwork, puppy dogs, or gaming, this shirt's pretty awesome. So I do have a link to my merch store on my YouTube page. So if you go to youtube.com @MysticChinbeard, check it out. It's the only one I have available right now. I am working on periodically throughout the year, updating that and getting some more in there. But I definitely like this whole thing about introducing dogs and art and beer and whatever else. So if you love dogs, video games, it's totally. Today's episode took a detailed look into redesigning a character from a base concept for a real world application. So I'm a marketing person, I'm a graphic designer, video editor, just you name it, I have done it as far as art is concerned. So this is a real world thing. I am creating a real product. I can't sell it, but it's still real. You know, I'm a home brewer, I'm not a commercial brewer. And so I still want my stuff to look, impressive. I still want it to look nice and give it persona. So thanks for sticking around while I made these gelatinous forms from references into an actual character. Drawing girls is fun, what can I say? Stay subscribed to see future artwork videos and live streams. And as we go into this, I believe artists are necessary to the creative process. We are all learners with skills and experiences different from everyone else. Be patient and kind, and simply speaking, just give a crap about people. When everything's said and done, it's the relationships you have with people that you've met along the way that point us in the direction we're supposed to travel. As two wise 80s era saviors once said, be excellent to each other. So that's it for today's episode. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time. Get out there and make some art. Chinbeard out.